Hi, I'm Laura Anthony with ABC 7 News. Welcome to a forum of candidates running for one seat on the Contra Costa Community College District Governing Board for Ward 3, which includes Concord, Pleasant Hill, and parts of Martinez. Today's forum is sponsored by the Contra Costa Elections Division, Contra Costa Television, the League of Women Voters of Diablo Valley, and the League of Women Voters of West Contra Costa County. We're recording these roundtables here in the studio of Contra Costa Television. The candidates are Michael Menacini, Rebecca Barrett, and Murray Bishop and Joe Munoz were unable to attend. We drew lots before the show to determine the speaking order, so we will begin with Michael Menacini. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Laura, very much. My name is Mike Menacini, and I'm a lifelong resident of Contra Costa County. Grew up here. My mother was born in Richmond. My father.
I'm going to ask you a question first, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then I'll give you a chance to tell us that at the end.
Oh,
okay?
I misunderstood.
No
I truly sorry.
So I'm just going to start with you with our first question. We're going to do Q&A for a bit, and then at the end, you're going to have a chance to give your statement. Okay?
Sure. No, I understand.
If elected, what would be your top priority?
My top priority, frankly, would be the students. I truly believe that as a former Diablo Valley College student myself, went to high school here in Contra Costa County. I have two daughters that are currently attending Diablo Valley College, and I think the students are extraordinarily important. What we know is that there is a declining student population as far as DVC is concerned, and one of the stated goals of the Diablo Valley College, and frankly the Community College Board as a whole, is to recruit and retain. I think that there's imaginative things that we can do to do that, and one of them is retention. A lot of things have to do with quality of life issues. For example, I personally am aware of students who have had to drop out of college because they lost their housing, and the cost of living was such that they could not afford to go to college. So there are ways that we can fix that problem, in my view. As someone who's I'm sorry
to cut you out. Yeah, we get 1 minute, and we'll get back to that. I think because it's obviously very important. Rebecca, same question. What's your top priority?
Well, thank you for having me here today, and thank you to the California League of Women Voters and our local league, and the Contra Costa Elections Division for having us here and having an opportunity to speak to our voters today. My top priority, to kind of piggyback a little bit there, again, as also a former DVC student myself, is to really focus on access and affordability, and to make sure that all of our students are able to afford to be able to go to these fantastic colleges that we have right here in our very own community. We just launched as a district our new program, first time, full-time free tuition for students who meet those two previous stated criteria. And we've got to make sure that that program works, and hopefully work with the state and our local partners and school districts to expand upon it.
All right, Rebecca, thank you. Let me start with you again and let you continue a little bit about, Michael was talking about affordability, and in my day I grew up in Contra Costa County, and if you had a certain grade point average and $1,200 a year, you could go to Berkeley.
Yeah.
No more.
Yep.
So the burden is falling more and more to the junior colleges to get these kids going, or young adults with their first 2 years. How do you make sure there is access and affordability, and all the way, not just paying tuition or paying for books, but being able to live?
Right, right. Well, and this is an issue that I will say I know personally very well. I graduated from Concord High School in 2007, and it was right on the cusp of the housing market crash and the stock market crash. And my parents and I had to have a very difficult conversation of what could we afford, because as a state we've strayed so far away from what you just referenced, our California Master Plan for Higher Education, where it used to be free for all students, and used to be free for a UC, let alone a community college. So we made what at the time felt like a very difficult decision, but it really was one of the best decisions of my life, was to go to DVC. There's there's a lot we can do to continue to expand upon providing access, and part of that, again, is the first-time, full-time free tuition. But we've got to really focus as a college on meeting students where they're at. Housing insecurity, food insecurity are real concerns for students, and they bring those into the classroom. And when they bring those concerns into the classroom, it makes it harder to learn.
Okay, Michael, let you pick up kind of where you left off there, talking a little bit more about access and affordability. And I would say, perhaps I'm wrong, but more of the students are living close to campus and having that kind of experience if they're going to, say, DVC?
Well, it goes beyond housing and that sort of thing. I mean, it includes transportation issues. It includes, frankly, nutritional issues, food issues. As a mayor and chair of the Mayor's Conference here in Contra Costa County, I was elected by my fellow mayors twice. I'm very familiar with different housing issues, and I know cities are struggling right now. There's the BART situation with a possible transportation center, but I truly believe, as a former mayor, that we can address student housing issues by working with our cities. For example, there's plenty of opportunities for potentially for in-law units, waiving fees for units like in-law units that could be created for students. One of the things that we need to do is communicate with our students. And one idea that I have, and I would like to, just like to finish the sentence, I would like to implement, if I am elected, is to institute a program of student report cards. We need to hear from students what their issues are. We need to know if they are they're this close to dropping out of school for whatever reason. Right now we're not getting that information.
All right, thank you. Rebecca, what do you see as the primary work of the board itself?
The primary work of the board is, first of all, one of our biggest priorities is our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the district remains in a financially stable situation. Our students can't succeed if something were to happen financially to the district. The good news is the district is actually in good financial standing. But on top of that, for me, I think what I would like to bring to the table as a board member would be my connection to the fact that I'm a fairly recent college graduate myself, and I worked for several years at the California Department of Education, and I'm currently mentoring and working with DVC students right now. Having a person on the board with that type of close connection to our students today, I think is a critical piece of the perspective that would add something really special to the board.
All right, thank you. Again, Michael, what do you see as the primary work of the board itself?
Well, the primary work of the board is to institute policies that affect the kinds of goals that we want to see happen. Clearly, the financial stability of the district is extraordinarily important. It's had deficits in the last couple of years. That are not horrid, but nevertheless are precursors of possible difficulties to come, because, you know, if you're running in the red, you're going to be faced with being forced to cut services. So that's something that nobody wants to see happen. So fiscal responsibility. I've been a member of the Martinez Unified School District Board. I've balanced budgets for the school district in Martinez. I've balanced budgets for the city of Martinez. I think the ability to look at budgets and be able to see where you can make cutbacks if necessary is extraordinarily important. But for many years, I've seen balanced budgets as a member of councils and boards.
And I'll kind of to continue with that thought about the budget, with the refund of first-time student fees, how will the budget be balanced?
Well, that's also a state issue as well. I mean, the state is helping us out with respect to that, and it's much appreciated. As much as the community colleges, Las Medanas, Diablo Valley, and the Contra Costa College are part of our communities, and I know that so well because I went to those schools and I've been involved in community affairs here in this county. I do know how important they are. The fact is, what the state does in terms of funding is extraordinarily important. So, for example, recently there was a proposal to possibly move away from supporting the community colleges in terms of enrollment. And a lot of the funding that comes through the state is based on enrollment levels, and I personally think that's a big mistake. But again, the funding issues are extraordinarily important.
All right, Rebecca, same question for you. With this refund of first-time student fees, you know, there's a lot of talk about, I mean, people, I think, are very idealistic about wanting to have access and affordability to college for everyone, but there's also the practical realities. So if you're refunding that first-time student fees, how do you balance the budget?
Well, we've got to make this work, because it is one, like you said, it's one thing to say, oh, I'm for access and affordability, and then if you drive us off a financial cliff, not only have you undermined that one program, you've undermined every future program that is trying to fight for more access for students to get into those colleges. To just mention something that Mike mentioned, that historically the district has had financial problems. The district right now is sitting on a 15% reserve. And we're projected for the next 2 years to be in strong financial footing and setting. And that's taking into consideration first-time, full-time free tuition. We balance our budget in no small part because we are such a magnet district where out-of-state and international students come to schools like DVC because of our phenomenal transfer rate to Berkeley, and they're not taking any of our local spots while doing it. Our spots are designated for California and Contra Costa students specifically. So right now we're projected to be in pretty strong financial health, and it would be up to the board to continue to fight for that and watch that carefully.
Looking forward, do you foresee that there's growth in your student population, or is there? And then how do you maintain that fiscal health, if you will, while continuing to grow and meet the needs as more and more students are pouring into your district?
So over the last academic year, we actually saw a 3% decline in enrollment in DVC and LMC, and a higher declining enrollment in Contra Costa. That's to be expected with the economy doing so well. More people are staying in their jobs and don't feel the need to come back into our community college systems. But, you know, economists and speculators have been saying the economy is going to take a dip any moment now, and so we've got to be prepared for an influx of new students. What's a bigger financial concern for me is new legislation, not proposal, that was passed through by the legislature this year that shifts our funding formula. And eventually it will get to 70% based off of number of students and seats, but the rest is split up between funding for if your students are on Pell Grants or on Cal Grants, or how fast you can get your students through the system to completion for a degree or completion through a CTE program. But that's only 2 of the 5 main points that the community colleges are meant to be trying to achieve.
All right, Mike, same thing.
By the way, I do think that free tuition is a wonderful idea, and I'm 100% for accessibility and affordability. We're losing too many students, frankly, that we shouldn't be losing, because a lot of them are extraordinarily bright and they can't afford to go to school and that sort of thing. As a community, as a country, we can't afford to lose those people. So we need to reach out to hopefully bring them back into the college system. I've heard this statement about how well the economy is doing, and that supposedly it's causing students to take other jobs. And you know, I understand that argument, and it's actually put forth in the budget analysis of the county schools. But I really think that we need to make our education more relevant, and we need to give students more opportunities. We might look at 4-year degrees, for example. We need to look at technology and what is currently the thing that's has the most potential for students. We really need to identify those career paths and facilitate them at the junior college or at the community college. So, and I think that's problematic. And so to say, you know, things like that somehow the economy is doing really well, so students are going elsewhere is not good enough for me. I think that there's a relevance issue with respect to the education that's being provided.
Let me ask you, you talked about enrollment and having funding based on enrollment numbers, and you thought that needed to change. Is that correct?
No. I think that the old formula is personally, and I see Rebecca agrees with me, the old formula is the one that we need to go by, because the new formula is really sort of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of thing, where the state is going to just make arbitrary decisions that one community somehow is more deserving as opposed to another community. And as Rebecca said, students are coming from everywhere. There's no walls out there that are keeping people are attracted to institutions that are providing good education. And I am a big believer in voting with your feet. When I was on the school board in Martinez, if somebody wanted to transfer out, I never opposed that. If somebody wanted to transfer in, I never opposed that. Mainly because it's about the programs, it's about the education that the institution offers that is so important. And students will, as I think Rebecca said, will understand that, and they know where the opportunities are. But that doesn't relieve us of the responsibility of making sure we know what's going on with those students. That's why I like the idea of a student report card.
All right. Let's go on to a new question here. What kind of relationship should a district and or the board have with its community and with its parents and its families?
Yeah, I think we really do need to get back to the fundamental of putting community back in community college. I think we do a good job in serving the students of our community, but we could be so much more as far as a community hub and center and meeting space to hear input from parents, from working people who might have left the educational space, started their job, but if we are offering services or meeting spaces or community workshops to get them back into the community college, they might be thinking about like, oh, I might want to go back and take that other degree or take this extra course. We've been fortunate enough to pass 3 bonds over the last almost 20 years, and we have some beautiful spaces. We have phenomenal libraries and facilities, and we could be really sharing that with the broader community and our K-12 partners. If a student in high school is visiting community college and using our libraries and resources, they can envision themselves going to college at a much earlier age, and we can get them on the right path for either a career technical program or a college degree.
All right, Rebecca, thank you. Same question. What kind of relationship do you see the district or the board having with its community?
Obviously, the community is extraordinarily important, and having served as long as I have in community affairs as a trustee, as a member of the Martinez Council and mayor, I more than understand that. I personally, I want to hear from people. I enjoy hearing other people's ideas. They're a part of our community, and regardless of what it is that they're saying, we as representatives of those folks need to listen and need to hear what it is that they're saying. They may actually have a good idea. You never know. If you don't listen to them, you won't know. I as a parent of 2 daughters that have attended Diablo Valley College, I think, and as a trustee of the school district, I think parents are enormously important. So I agree on that issue. And one of the things that I think really needs to be improved upon in our community college are counseling services and identifying career paths. We've had difficulty with counseling service. If I'm a counselor at one of the community colleges, Diablo Valley, wherever, Las Madonnas, and I get a call from a parent, I want to hear what that parent has to say. Because if there's a student that's in trouble, if we listen to that parent, we may be able to turn that situation around. Every student, I think, is important, and we need, anyway. Sorry,
Okay,
I guess I used up
got to
too
make
much.
sure she gets her time here too. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Glad you wanted a conversation.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine with me. So here's a question that's different, and I'll let you take it first here, Rebecca. This has been a tough year for the College Board. How would you be the right person to help restore trust and validity to the board?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been a tough year for society as a whole. You know, we've had a piece of this Me Too movement. We see it in the national news, you see it in headlines and how it affects Hollywood, and then, you know, it hits really close to home. And I'll say this, I think women all over know that it hits close to home, and that this is a pervasive societal issue. It is not just something that hits Hollywood or schools or anywhere. It is something women deal with every single day. And that is, quite frankly, as the only woman running, a unique perspective I can bring to this race. But I think we need to think about not just we're having this conversation about campus safety and sexual harassment in schools and workplaces, but what happens next? How do we empower students, men and women, on what is the definition of harassment? How do you report it? What are your rights as a student? Because we do actually meet, I believe, our Title IX requirements of keeping students safe there, but I don't believe it's accessible and communicated in a way that students will really understand. And I'm committed as a future, hopefully as a future board member, to working to make sure that we meet those obligations, because I think students, as a former student and as someone who recently went through those life experiences at DVC, students need to know what their rights are.
Same question to you, Michael. It's been a tough year for the College Board. How would you be the right person to help restore trust and validity?
Well, to begin with, I have spent a career as a criminal prosecutor, as a district attorney, both here in Contra Costa and in San Francisco. I've tried sexual assault cases. I've tried rape cases. And I feel very strongly about that. I've also tried domestic violence cases, and they're very problematic. Frankly, and as a former police officer in San Jose, I have very strong feelings about public safety and issues, regardless of what level they rise to. I totally agree with Rebecca that we need to let the students know what the rules are. We need to educate. I'm a big believer of, obviously, in education on many different levels, but yes, you know, any kind of harassment or inappropriate activity needs to be dealt with swiftly and firmly, and we're not going to tolerate it. Absolutely not going to tolerate that kind of misconduct, and I feel very strongly about that.
All right, and I think this might be our last question in the Q&A section, then we'll get to the statements that each of you can make. How can you personally contribute to a successful board meeting?
Well, again, having been a mayor and a vice president of the school board and Martinez and whatnot, what's really important in terms of a group is that you have to respect and listen to your fellow board members. You have to understand where it is that they're coming from. If I feel strongly about something, I am definitely going to advocate for that, and I have successfully done that. When I was chair of the Mayor's Conference, we created the Transportation Authority, and if ever there was something, a governance system that looked like an elephant, but, you know, walked like a giraffe and a few other things, that would be that. And I could tell you a lot of stories about that, but it is so important to communicate with your fellow board members. It's so important to respect their opinions and to listen to them if you're going to reach a consensus. And I know the members of the board, I know Vicki Gordon and the others, and I have communicated with them. I consider them friends, and I respect their opinions, and I believe that I would be a positive communicator on the board.
All right, thank you. Rebecca, same question. How can you personally contribute to a successful board meeting?
Yeah, I will say, I think the first step is to make sure that we're listening when people come to our board meetings and want to talk about an issue or discuss an issue. Being a board member who listens to all sides of an argument and gets different perspectives. I've worked at the California Department of Education. I try to be an incredibly curious individual and will read background information and supplemental books. And ultimately, it's about coalition building. And I'm proud to say that I have the endorsements of city council members in every city that touches this district. I'm proud to have the support of board member John Marquez and current board member Gary Walker-Roberts. And I believe that with my past work in the community, that I would be able to not only listen to all sides of an argument and perspective, be able to advocate what I believe is in the best interest of my district, but be able to work collaboratively with my board members and other members in elected community to get stuff done.
Do you think having recent experience as a student yourself might help?
Absolutely, I really do. There is something to be said for being in the classroom recently and working in today's workforce as well.
All right. Well, thank you both for your answers to those questions. Excuse me. Each candidate will now have 1 minute to make a closing statement. We will start with Rebecca Barrett.
Okay. Well, thank you, and thank you again to the League of Women Voters and the Contra Costa Elections Division for giving me this opportunity to talk to you directly about why I'm running for Community College Board. I'm a product of our local schools. I graduated from Concord High School and attended DVC. I then had the opportunity to transfer to UCLA and began my work after graduation at the California Department of Education. As the former principal advisor to the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, I have helped advise state leaders on statewide education policy, K-12 and higher education. My top 3 priorities will be to fight for access and affordability for all of our students to be able to attend our community colleges. I want to make sure that we're expanding and strengthening our career technical education programs, and I want to make sure that our schools are safe and welcoming for all students so they can learn. I hope to earn your vote on November 6th on Election Day, and if you would like to find out more, please visit my website, www.rebeccabarrett.org.
All right, Michael, your closing statement?
Yes, thank
You
you.
can look at this camera right there.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, my name's Mike Menacini, and I've lived in Contra Costa all of my life. I was drafted into the infantry from Contra Costa County, from the draft board. And I went to high school here. I went to Diablo Valley College, and even though it may not be as recent as Rebecca's experience, I have wonderful memories of my experience at Diablo Valley College, and it did, and lifelong friends, by the way, in Antioch and Concord and Walnut Creek and other areas that I played sports with at Diablo Valley College. Now, I have served as a mayor. I've served as a school board member. I've worked in terms of balancing budgets, so I know intimately how budgets work, and I believe that that is going to be of critical importance. As far as the Contra Costa Community College is concerned. I do think we need to expand opportunities in terms of technology. I think we need to provide more courses that allow students to transfer more quickly. And I think that there's innovative ways that we can create accessibility in terms of housing, transportation, and other factors.
All right, Michael, Rebecca, thank you both very much. That concludes our forum of candidates running for the Contra Costa Community College District Governing Board, Ward 3. Once again, the candidates are Michael Menacini, Rebecca Barrett, and Murray Bishop and Joe Munoz were unable to attend. For more information on the candidates, visit the website votersedge.org. To view this broadcast online, go to www.cocovote.us. I'm Lori Anthony with ABC 7 News. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to vote on November 6th.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.